So now we're going to have the time where we communicate, where we talk, we discuss about the Torah portion Tzav, which means to command. And Mauricio is not here today. Angel is not here today. Those are the ones who usually speak the most besides me. So today, if anybody has something to say about the message, please feel free to share your thoughts.
The wild woman.
What the wild woman.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if we have no thoughts to share, we'll say goodbye.
Well, no, first of all, I think I'm going to listen again because I didn't hear all it. I was here the whole time, but my mind was preoccupied. So I'm going to listen again. But I heard a lot of it, most of it, and the first was very good. And well, just the idea of free will from that one word command, that's so true. And how could people, I mean, how could you be commanded if you don't have the choice to obey or disobey?
Exactly.
I think people misunderstand sometimes about free will. Sorry? Oh, I heard something. Like the idea doesn't mean that in everything in our life we have free will. We don't choose to get sick but there are consequences of our behavior. We just don't, there are things that we don't always know about. So free will, I know some people have gotten annoyed at me and said, you think I chose to lose my mother so young or to lose my brother or whatever? That's not what it means, free will. It means that we choose, as you say, we choose whether to obey or not. That's the biggest.
Yes.
Everything in life is a choice, almost every minute.
But there are consequences for our disobedience as a whole.
Yes,
I mean, humanity is suffering the consequences of what Adam and Eve did.
Yeah,
they chose to disobey.
But it's not always direct in the sense that
it's not direct. No, it's not. If I do this, this is going to happen, although sometimes it is.
Yeah.
But remember, we also suffer the consequences of generations past.
Exactly. So
and sometimes we're in the line of fire. We're in the wrong place at the wrong time, so that we suffer, the innocent suffer also for the choices that the guilty make.
Exactly.
It's not one answer.
No.
Exactly. And let me just look at some of the things that, and the idea of, when we suffer and we're humbled and we have a sense of really being forgiven, that's when it becomes easier to obey, because we've suffered the consequences, and at this point we know.
Yeah, I'm sort of experiencing that.
Yeah. How many times do I have to try to walk through the wall, as Rabbi Percy used to say? Let's go through an open door, but we keep banging our head against the wall. Think, no, I'm doing it my way.
We're like, as you say, we're like the terrible twos. We want to do it our way.
Exactly.
Even when we don't think we're proud or arrogant, boy, sometimes it really hits me like, I'm not really proud or arrogant, but oh yes, I am.
We are, and we don't realize it sometimes.
But sometimes it takes certain incidences to really show it,
Yeah, exactly. And that's the joy also about living in community, because we help each other. We reflect, against each other. We're able to give feedback to each other when we see that someone is going off track. So
but we also tend to see things. It's so hard not to. Everyone does what I'm going to say. We see things through our own lens because we're in our own body, we're in our own experience. Like even that little thing with the boy joking around, and because you tend to always dichotomize everything. Oh, that's a little boy. But I think it's, in my point, I'm not sure if that's true or not, but the way I see it is you are very definitely a personality type, and that's just not your personality type. But I mean, I could name 1,000 little girls who would do the same thing.
That's very true.
But my point is that it's interesting because it made me think we really see things through our own lens. Like Percy had a great sense of humor, but he wasn't like that. He wasn't like that. He's more like you. You're very similar in that way. You're both you're not, I don't know how to, more serious or something.
We're not playful.
You're not playful.
Yeah.
But we can't help seeing things through our own eyes.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if my mother were here, she would do the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Clara would do the same. But I mean, it just clicked in my head. Okay, I said, maybe it's true. I'm not sure. But then I said, no, Peggy's seeing it through her own experience. But
Exactly.
we can't help doing that. And
Yeah.
sometimes we have to be given a patch and tuchis to realize certain things. I'm not saying in that case, but in
Yeah.
other cases where we don't see how we're disobedient or how we're arrogant or how, and we need to have that, because we're only seeing ourselves and we're not always even knowing ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. And the wonderful thing about this whole Pesach story, which we are to teach to our children every year, we sit down at the Seder table and remind them where we come from. And that story is so powerful. It's like I say, I keep seeing it so vividly. It's a prototype.
Yeah.
It's a formula for what would happen to us as a people all throughout the centuries. You know, the fact that we were living in a foreign land, just like we are here in Canada or the United States. We were like that in Europe before the last Holocaust. We were very, very comfortable and happy in the land for a while. And then suddenly the leaders of the land start to turn their eyes toward us or the people in the land. And they say, these people are different. You know, and it usually stems from problems that are happening, either financial problems, but we become involved in the ideologies of the land that we're living in. Instead of being a light to the peoples, we become part of the peoples. We accept their gods, we accept their ways, and then we start to lose our identity. And the only way for us to get back our identity as a people with a purpose, a divine purpose, which we have lost as a whole, are to go through suffering and to go through struggling, because it's the only time that we go, oi, where are you, God? Help us. Otherwise, we're very content, very happy with, where we are.
It's
and
funny
God,
that, sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, that even applies on an individual level, that applies as a community. And it's almost like our own lives are like similar. Sometimes we have to go through lots of pain and suffering to turn back to God, to really learn what it means to obey.
Exactly. And in that moment, it's not always necessarily that we know we're crying out to God, but we're crying out. Yeah. Because it says the people of the Israelites cried out, but they weren't necessarily crying out to God. They wanted Moses to relieve them from the heavy burden of slavery in Egypt. But God heard their cries, he said. So it's not like we were saying, oh, God, come and help us. We weren't. We're crying out for help, but we don't know who we're. So at that moment, God reveals himself. And I'm really looking forward to God revealing himself to this whole world, because we are putting so many Band-Aids on situations that, instead of going to the root. I have a friend I spoke to yesterday, and she was telling me all the physical problems that she's having. And I know what a stressful life she's living through now. And I told her, is it possible that some of these things are coming from stress? She says, yeah, I know it's coming from stress. I said, well, is there anything you can do about the stress? No, that's just the way I am. So she says she worries about everything. She's like my mother. My mother used to say, if I don't have anything to worry about, I worry why I don't have something to worry about. And she says, that's exactly the way my father was. And I'm just like him. But I said, but you're not your father. And you can change a paradigm. But to her, it was absolutely impossible, this notion of changing a paradigm. It's a very difficult thing to do.
It's difficult because you're so in it.
Yeah.
But something has to come up and almost shake you up.
Exactly.
I mean, I still have certain paradigm, and I know that it's there, and I have to, it's not even rational.
No, but that's where God comes in.
Yeah, and I go to God and I say, I don't even know how to change it. It's so deep. It's like the color of my eyes or something.
Yeah. But that's exactly what the offerings were about. We didn't know how to change anything. We had to bring, and the ceremony, when you think about it, was so strange. We had to take an animal from our flock, bring it to the Kohen, the whole community be watching us, knowing that we're coming and we're confessing something. We're telling them, we're upset about something. And the death of this animal, our acknowledgement, bringing it to God, would somehow lift it. We would be forgiven and we could start again. The whole thing seems irrational. It's like a hook, but God is in the midst of that. Psychology doesn't always work. We need the touch of Ruach, of the Spirit of God, touching us in some way that we cannot explain.
Yeah.
That's the beauty, but we can't take our animals. You couldn't take Clover and sacrifice them on the altar. Exactly. But we bring ourselves.
Yeah.
And God, and we ask God, look inside my heart and help me to switch. And I've done it so many times. And all of a sudden, something that upset me so much the day before, suddenly there's a click. It's like, oh, I could see it a different way.
That could come from God. Well, even your thing about poverty, remember you said your thing?
Yes.
It's so deep that something has to just shift. And it's not always, you can go like that, like you could be 70 and something happens and it shifts.
Exactly. But to explain what you're saying, because maybe not everybody knows, but I come from a family, not all Jews are rich. We were not rich. My father really struggled. Every business that he tried just didn't work. It was, they were always going broke. It was always a struggle. And I remember always feeling poor. And I would look at the rich kids in school and they seemed to be better in some way than I was. And I didn't understand it because I really didn't ask too many questions to people. You just sometimes are very internal about things, don't always communicate them. But then after I became a believer and I was walking with God and I was tithing and doing all the things, but something inside still felt less than all those people who had money. Like I was lacking something inside me. And one day, I don't know what I was doing, but all of a sudden it was almost like I heard a voice inside my own head that says, I am not poor. And it was like an epiphany. And from that moment, I can't explain what happened, but I have not struggled with money in my bank account from that moment on. And I saw myself differently when it came to being with people who had money and being people who didn't. There was no difference. But it's almost like there's something spiritual that happens. It's the same. Something happened last night where I heard some people talking about what's happening with Trump, that he's being indicted. And they're happy about it. A lot of people are very happy about the fact that President Trump or the ex-president is being indicted. And my first reaction was but look at the crookedness of some of the people who have not been indicted. And then I said to myself, I don't have to defend him. I don't have to defend anybody. I don't have to defend God. I don't have to defend myself. I just have to allow things to happen. If he's guilty, he'll be punished. Well, you know what? Today you can't even say that because the justice system is so crooked. But eventually, the truth comes out, even if it's centuries later. Truth generally comes and it will show itself. I don't have to get into an argument with people because I'm, pro or against a person in government. It's like it's a waste of time. It's all Band-Aid solutions for a problem that we are simply not obedient to God. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. So these paradigm shifts about obedience, about forgiveness, about walking with God, it shows up differently in each of us because God has a way of entering our brains, of speaking to us at a place where we are, and we cannot change anybody else. The only one we can change is ourselves. And, sometimes we get frustrated because we see so clearly what somebody else is doing, but there's really very little we can do about it until they can see for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I agree, even though we're living in a system that's the whole paradigm of the world is topsy-turvy, and the justice system isn't just anymore, but there is a God still. And if Trump has done some stuff that's worthy of being prosecuted, God knows, and if he's innocent, God knows as well.
But every one of the people in government today have done that.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I know that. I mean, he's no more. Anyway, corruption is just rampant in politics.
Exactly.
But I really believe that there is enough of a prayer base around that. That's. I mean, God knows what's going on with Trump and in his heart, and et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly.
So I think we're going to see, there's still righteous people in the land, and God is going to listen to prayers. And anyway, I think
there will definitely be an uprising. There's an uprising all over the world. But I love that verse that I read at the beginning. In takes place in the last book of Deuteronomy, at the end of Deuteronomy 30. I think it's the last, I'm not sure. But it's again like a formula. See, I have set before you this day life and good, death and evil. I tzav you, I command you this today, us, love the Lord our God with all our hearts, walk in his ways, keep his commandments, his 10 commandments, so that we may live and multiply and be blessed in the land. I mean, it's so simple. That's all he asks us to do. It's so simple, and it's so hard to do. And we need to pray in community that we will be able to help ourselves to do that, to be able to be obedient to his commandments. It was cute yesterday. Hello, Sari. How are you? ¿Cómo está?
Bien, aquí estamos.
Ay, Patricia. Priscila.
Hola, hola, ¿cómo está?
¿Está bien?
Bien, gracias a Dios.
Good. I'm
Bien,
glad to see. Good.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Hag Pesach Sameach.
Hag Sameach. Sí, Pesach.
Did you see? Lo visto let me show you. Hold on a second.
¿La parashá?
No. Sí. The picture. Wait. Share. Es le Seder del año pasado en la.
Ay, qué hermoso. Mira
Sí,
qué bonita
es la familia, aquí la familia Iglesias, Karen, Ángel y los niños. Aquí Alejandro a la cabeza de las mesas. Todo. What else? Alejandro, Yanet, Muriel, Etid, Mildred. Ora, pray for Mildred. She's in the hospital, and she's I don't know. I hope she makes it. Her body is healing, but her mind is slowly. She's very tired. And Rhonda and Patricia, and Miriam. Looks like I made you bald, Miriam, last year.
Me gusta cómo se pone, cuando se pone su gorrito, se ve muy bonita.
¿Qué, Sari?
El gorro a Miriam se le ve bonito.
Sí. Brian, look how happy you are. I love this picture. Yeah. It's a time. Sí. It's a time to be with our families, un tiempo para estar con nuestras familias, with our families, thank God for his blessings. And that's about it. Does anybody have anything they want to share before we say goodbye? You know what I noticed? We never sing Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
And how do you say in Spanish? Disfruta bien? Is that how you?
Disfruta
Disfruta
el día.
Disfruta el día de Shabbat. Disfruta el Seder en tu casa, sí. And God willing, we'll see you again next.
Your English is wonderful, Peggy. Your Spanish, sorry. Your Spanish is amazing.
Oh, good. I'm so happy. Yay, good.
¿Dónde está Yané que no la veo?
Estoy aquí escondida en Montreal.
¿Por qué escondida? Escondida.
¿Por qué escondida?
Estoy escondida. Estoy en un rincón muy, muy bello de Montreal. Estoy en Laval.
Sí.
En mi casa. But I am okay. Gracias, Saraí. Estoy bien.
Good. You're feeling better today, I see.
Yes. Today is, yes.
Good. Okay. Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Don't forget, keep praying for Mildred.
Yes.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.